Even with us just alluding to the fact that the year was nearly over in our previous retrospective regarding all the major content updates of 2021, I still cannot believe that tomorrow is the final day of 2021. Still, I suppose time doesn't lie, so before I let it fly by, we need to finish up our look back on the year with the second half of Don't Starve Together's update cycle, the character reworks and releases, folks. Now, we had 3 of the former and 1 of the latter to cover throughout 2021, and seeing as some of us out there may have forgotten about at least 1 of these updates, I think it's time to give them all a bit of a revisit, yes. But before we do, we should absolutely first thank Klei Entertainment for all of their hard work from day 1 on. It was another year of dealing with a global pandemic, and for an indie company to have released all that they did and detailed at the start of this year is beyond commendable. Hats off to you for a wonderful 2021 there, Klei. And thanks for giving us the hats right back and making them balloonified with your first rework of the year, the West rework. Yes, everyone. Even though we're still kind of debating to this day whether or not it actually happened, our Mime friend was the #1 refresh of the year on April 1st, no less. And I'm not kidding when I say this either, but I might actually literally label it as the #1 rework of the year, if you know what I mean. While West may have became the not so best, he still became actually useful in his uselessness, and that is something I absolutely adore. Oh, he also had a very, very interesting animation that dropped right alongside his in-game changes, and that's always a plus. We got to see how great of a human Wes actually was, while Maxwell continued to use his powers for no good. We got an explanation for how crows came to the constant because, of course, we frickin' did. George Witherspoon showed up, which was and continues to be pretty darn neat and potentially really important. And in the end, we had final confirmation of just why Maxwell hated Wes so much and why he kept him imprisoned. It was good stuff, and you should definitely give it another watch if it's been a while since your last viewing, as I enjoyed it more this time. Guys, I am not kidding. I understand it came out on April 1st. I understand the joke is that we make fun of this guy day in and day out. But, I honestly believe that his rework was the best rework of the year. Klei took an already made fun of daily challenge character and made fun of him themselves while also actually legitimately changing him for the better by making him more challenging and more fun. And what is better than that? That's like the definition of character reworks, is it not? And thankfully, we actually have like 2 really solid reworks that fit under that umbrella. But again, let's talk about Wes for a minute. They lowered his stats even more. They made it to where lightning will strike him more often, which is just absolutely freaking hilarious. They made hounds target him more often. They made it to where he overheats and freezes faster. They made it to where he recovers from grogginess a lot slower than others. The list just goes on. It sounds awful, but it's so fun. Because they made it fun via his balloonomancy, everybody. A thing that we always joked about, that he was breathing helium, and they took it to another level by adding party balloons, speedy balloons, inflatable vest things, that hat nonsense. It was great. Being able to instantly increase yours and your team speed by 30, 20, and 10% off the bat is huge. An AoE sanity thing that both you and your team can actually benefit from the same time? Sure, why not? An essentially free life jacket in case something goes wrong on the water doesn't sound like it would be that useful, but it is really useful if it comes into play. And essentially another free headgear item that gives you sanity when worn, gives you lightning protection, and a little bit of wetness resistance. I mean, that's awesome. It was a joke rework that wasn't a joke, and it was honestly really fun. So much so that upon reflecting upon it here today, I'm serious. I really like this rework, and I think it might be the best one that they've done in a long time, and definitely the top spot of the year. The thing is, though, if we're talking about stellar reworks that actually refresh the character while maintaining what that character actually was, I don't think anybody beats this next guy. The eight-eyed, eight-legged Spider Boy himself, Weber, folks. Weber's rework began to spin its silk around late June, but the anticipation for such a thing came well before that. Folks were all sorts of excited to see one of the most beloved survivors get some love themselves, as Weber was seemingly being outpaced by those around him at that point. Folk were also hoping that Klei wouldn't care too much about that, though, as I think we all just kind of wanted Weber to be more Weber-y. And sure enough, we got just that. We also received yet another fantastic animation because I swear to you, Klei rarely misses on these things. But Wagstaff just casually drives up and away within the first 10 seconds of the dang thing. We see glimpses of who Weber was as a human boy. We see how and why he turned out the way he did. And in the end, we actually cried because of it. The short opened up a lot of doors in a not so heck of a lot of time and set the stage for a newly silked out survivor. So give it a watch when you can. Oh, the Weber rework, everybody. Such a fantastic update, but the update itself kind of broke literally everything for weeks, and I'm pretty sure some things are still broken to this day. But that's besides the point, and that's Klei's problem, not ours. So, let's ask the question, how did that guy stack up against the rest? Honestly, pretty darn well. Like I said, it was Weber, just a little more Weber-fied. He was able to have more interactions with spiders. There was a new spider added to the game. And you know what? Give it a couple weeks, there would be a second new spider added to the game too, which would only make the rework as a whole better. This was, like I said, what a rework really should be. Weber was still 110% Weber. He only had more to do and with spiders. And what more can any of us possibly have asked for? A razor in the hand of the guy, incredibly OP. The nurse spider, an awesome addition. The shoebox, very helpful. The webby whistle, insanely helpful. The sleeping in the spider dens thing, also helpful, even though I didn't really use any of that in my own Weber reworked Wednesday playthrough. And the fact that spiders themselves were now able to kind of stack up with the biggest challenges in the game became really enticing. So much so that I literally had an entire playthrough where I only used spiders to kill every single boss in the game, and you know what? They did. So whether or not you were looking for just a fun, casual playthrough with a really light character that has fun interactions with the world that he's in, or you were like me who used all of that and put it to its ultimate potential, there was something for you with this rework. And once again, that's perfect. Added some of the hotfixes that even saw changes to the world itself and not just Weber's followers. And my gosh, this update was kinda big. And heck, sprinkle in a little pro nuance here and there, and maybe even the switcher doodles didn't even matter all that much because it was a new way to amass a spider army and duplicate spiders. It was just good. Can we just agree that the Weber rework was just good? Old but still good had become new and potentially even greater. And what's more, is that not what these refreshes should be? The thing is though, folks, I'm not sure any survivor encapsulates that more than this next girl. Wanda, the Timekeeper, aka the Time Witch as I've taken to call her. But Wanda's time to shine came on September 9th, which wasn't all that long ago, but oh boy does it feel like it for some reason. But perhaps that's appropriate, as Wanda was here to mess with everything, from in-game hierarchies to the overall lore of the flippin' game. And she wasn't going to apologize it for it either. Klei didn't neither, as timelines became garbled, an endless list of questions began to arise, and suddenly a granny had just become the queen of the constant. No, seriously, it feels like Wanda just came out of nowhere and took over the joint, if you know what I mean. She was the talk of the town, and maybe she should still be, as what do we even know about her to this day? I, for one, still believe she's a Trojan horse not to be trusted, just like a Wagstaff type figure. However, that has not stopped me from just appreciating how no-nonsense she was and is. Klei wanted to create a unique, hard-hitting glass cannon character in line with their overall vision, and they did just that, and then some, without question. And with it, changed everything. Granny showed up and whipped everybody into shape. That's pretty much the gist of it. Listen, we've already showcased just how flippin' powerful this chick can be. She usurped Wolfgang, and he still hasn't come back for his throne yet. It's not even close. Now, I totally get the sentiment that she's kind of boring because of that, and she's just a little too powerful. But at the end of the day, she is a glass cannon. To me and to others, she offers a unique playstyle. I like it. I like being powerful at the risk of being pretty much one-shotted at any point. It makes players like me, someone who's been playing this game for way too flippin' long, a little more nervous when you're going into fights that you kind of know like the back of your own hand. Her watches are unique and have really cool interactions with herself and the rest of the world and all the other survivors, which is a plus. And the fact that she is now in the game forever and is likely going to play a massive role in the story arc that's coming in 2022, I think we can appreciate that. Pun intended or not, but it's time. It's time for the game and these survivors to move forward, and I'm pretty sure she is gonna be the catalyst for it all. And I get it. I understand the sentiment that she's just maybe a little too much and they just threw her in and suddenly she's just queen of everything and she's just too powerful. I get it. I sympathize a little bit. It's just, I can't explain it. I just like playing her. The no health thing is unique. The glass cannon was something that I was just telling Klei to do back when Wendy's rework came out last year. And once you really get into what Wanda can do, you can literally zoom across the map in an instant, ready for fights, ready for any task you need to do, while you whip things into shape with the best weapon this game has ever seen. It's just, I don't know, it just works. Be it my bias for her animation that filled my head with so many questions just like it did her, or what, but I like Wanda. And at the end of the day, with a review like this, I guess that's all that matters. And even though Granny has easily taken the throne from this next guy, we should probably still talk about this next guy, as he might, just might, still be her competition in the long run. Him being none other than Wolfgang, the incredible not-so-strong man it seems. But by far the freshest update in our minds, given how it released but 2 weeks ago, we are not gonna dilly-dally long, even if the list of changes is actually pretty long itself. That said, though, I highly anticipate yet another reworking of the rework once Klei returns from the holidays, so perhaps we shouldn't actually review him in detail today, and simply just give an opinion on said details. That, and mention how short, sweet, and still kinda cheap his animation was once the train actually hit the wagon, if you catch my drift. But that's a complaint for another day. Folks, even though we've already covered the update itself and the couple of hotfixes that have already come out with this guy, I highly anticipate another is coming very soon. And why is that, you ask? Well, let's just say that the Wolfgang rework, in direct contrast to the Wes and Weber reworks from this year, was somewhere in the middle while simultaneously being everywhere, if you know what I mean. Some of the things they did were actually kind of neat and kind of welcomed, while some of the other stuff was highly questionable, and you wonder what the heck the point of any of it was. And somewhere in the middle is a solution that I'm not entirely sure we will ever get to. You knew it, I knew it, Klei knew it. All three parties knew that leading up to this thing, it was going to be the most controversial rework of the year, if not ever. But at the end of the day, was it really all that bad? Honestly, No, it wasn't all that bad. They just made it more time consuming. That's pretty much what they did. The decision to take away his speed in the fashion that they did is definitely debatable and should be questioned. I actually agree with that. Him freezing and overheating faster in wimpy form versus mighty form is kind of an interesting change, but it doesn't make the most sense. Like, he should still have something going on when he's mighty, but what have you. The whole being more efficient when you're rowing when mighty sounds actually kind of really good, but it's honestly not. It's only talking about the initial acceleration of a boat, which doesn't necessarily matter all that much. And when they tried to take hunger meaning so much for mightiness while still simultaneously making hunger mean a lot for mightiness in the first place, yeah, I'm not really sure what they were doing there. Now that all sounds like I would not like this rework, and well, I guess that's true, but I'm more in the neutral side of things, right? Not only am I anticipating more change, I don't mind the changes that they did, I just mind how they did those changes. If you tweak a little things here and there within those changes, you got something kind of interesting. The gym structure is kind of neat, I guess, and has interesting interactions with the world if you know how to actually use it. Perhaps giving the other survivors some interaction with them themselves would make it even better. Now that the dumbbells have been reworked a little bit, they're actually worth our time, even the initial stone one. Wolfgang now remaining mighty longer and not losing damage over time with hunger and thus mightiness is honestly huge for consistent damage over longer periods of time, meaning he actually deals more damage now than he did before. And the whole doing better at work when mighty and being able to critical hit things is just a fun little change. And honestly, those are what I look for in a refresh. So you gotta give bonus points for that. Listen, he definitely still needs another look before we can be like, okay, this is something that we can live with until they decide to maybe rework their survivors again years down the line, if that's even gonna be a thing. But as he stands now, he is still technically Wolfgang. It just takes him a little while longer to get to Wolfgang. I don't love it. Heck, I might not even like it all that much, but I don't mind it at the end of the day. It sits at the bottom of the list when it comes to reworks potentially, but it is what it is for now. And I guess sadly, so is this, folks. This is it, the final retrospective video of 2021. We talked all the major content updates, and we have now run through the 4 character updates as well. All in all, I'd say there was really only one miss throughout the whole year, and we just had it 2 weeks ago, and he's gonna have another chance in probably like a week and a half, 2 weeks. So let's remember that. Folks, I want to hear your thoughts on all 4 of these characters, Wes, Weber, Wanda, and Wolfgang. And you know, with the potential of a 2022 roadmap also around the corner, I would not be against starting the conversation about the next updates and reworks, folks. Overall, I'd say 2021 was just as solid as 2020. And that's saying something, because 2020 had some of the best updates this game has ever seen. But the sheer volume of what felt like a beefier 2021, even though it honestly really wasn't, is just unfathomable from an indie company, as I said at the beginning. Now, I will admit I kind of felt a lack of polish here and there over the 2020 updates, but I don't really want to get into that. I just want to appreciate Klei and their work, because at the end of the day, I really did enjoy every single update that came out this year. So once again, my heartfelt thanks to Klei for all of that, and I cannot wait to see what you have up your sleeve for next year. But folks, I also would like to thank you for watching not only today, but throughout 2021. Thanks for sticking with me throughout all of these updates and hotfixes and everything in between. And I cannot wait to showcase all the new stuff that is coming in 2022 for you. I'll see you next year. Bye-bye.